Hello, welcome to July's Let's Get Growing. I am here under the lime tree, which is one of the best bits of shade that we've got on the site at the moment. And I just wanted to show you all the flowers. It's burst into flower. It's got these tiny yellow flowers. If we had smell-o-vision, you'd be able to smell the air is full of the perfume from the flowers. It's actually a bit sort of heady on a hot day, but it's, you know, it's beautiful, and you can see the whole tree is full of these. So there's thousands and thousands of flowers here, and we've got bees and hoverflies and other insects going in and out of them all the time. So it's, if you imagine how much pollen and nectar that is providing as food to all those tiny creatures that are so important for what we do here in the garden, it's just it's quite incredible. And so this is a lime tree. It's nothing related at all to the lime, the green fruit lime, but it's got the same name. But we can excuse me, we can eat it. So you can pick the flowers. You can pick a flower like that, and you can keep the leaf and dry them out, and then they're used to make a herbal tea. So if you boil some water and pop some of those in, they kind of spring back to life. The water goes a nice orange colour, and it's supposed to be a herbal remedy to help you sleep, help you drift off to sleep. So that's the glorious Bulwell Forest Garden lime tree. All right, let's look at July's pack. You might be able to hear our kids group singing in the background, so that's what the noise is. So this month we have got squash plants. So this is squash, pumpkin, winter squash. There's a bit of a variety in there. They've all got a label with their name on. This is a butternut, so that's the orange pumpkin type that you get. Let's start again. So, welcome to July's pack. We've got 3 plants for you. The first is a squash or a pumpkin. So these are, there's a few different varieties in there. So if you check the label, this one's butternut, so that one's quite familiar. That one's sold in the shops. A quick Google, you can find out what type of pumpkin you'll be getting, because they come in all shapes and sizes and colours. But the way that we look after the plants is all the same. We've also got Bladder Campion, which is a bit of a funny name, and there's lots of other names for this plant, so we'll introduce you to this one. And you've each got a pepper as well. So this is Yolo Wonder is the name of the type of pepper. So if we start with this guy, I'm going to take my medium-sized pot for the pepper, and all of you, when you get these home, it's time to pot them up. So get them into, this is a good size. You could go even bigger than this. I think this is about 30 centimetres across, so you'll give enough space to get enough roots to get a nice big plant. So it's a red pepper, a bell pepper like you get at the supermarket. So the flowers will come, and then behind those you'll get a fruit which will be green at first, and as that ripens it will turn to red. You can pick them and eat them when they're green, as you know, we've all eaten green peppers. The longer you leave it and the more red it turns, the sweeter the flavour will be. So that's up to you, but we'll pot it on just like we do with all our plants. So plenty of soil into the pot. This is the peat-free compost that we buy. You might have made your own. You might have to get down the shop and get some. But just giving it plenty to grow in there. So I've got to about the right level. My plant's going to sit and come up to the level of the pot. So one finger on each side of the stem to support it. And up we go. And that's going to sit nicely in there, and I can fill in all around. And I want to get up to the same level as the pot it was in before. So we've got a nice level layer of compost all around. And then when that's full, give it a bit of a shake. We don't want any air pockets to be caught in the compost. We want that all to be nicely set through. And last of all, and this is going to be our main job this summer, keeping all our plants nice and watered. So I'm giving that a good soak. It helps the soil to settle into place and the roots. And I carry on until I can see there's water coming out the bottom there. So that means all the soil's had a good soak. If you're keeping your plants in pots this time of year, it's really helpful if you've got a tray or something they can sit in to hold that water, so that it just means you don't have to water as often and they don't dry out so quickly. If you've got a piece of ground that you can plant into, that's even better, because that holds water for a bit longer, so it saves you carrying the watering can quite as much. So that's your pepper. So it'll grow, it should grow quite quickly in a bit more space. It'll get to about 60 centimetres high, and it's quite a sort of bushy little plant. And as I say, you'll see the flowers, the fruit follows the flowers, and yeah, you should get a nice little yield. Pepper's often treated as an annual plant, so we'll grow them and we'll throw them away. You can, with some of these, you can keep them over winter if you bring them inside. So they won't survive outside in a British winter, but if you bring it inside, it might lose all its leaves and look a bit sorry for itself. If you want to try again, water it again for next year, you might have a plant that comes back. So there's our pepper. So I've got an even bigger pot, and this is for the squash plant. These are plants that can get really big, so there'll be lots of leaves and lots of fruit for you, hopefully. So I've given it lots of room. I've actually run out of compost, so I'm not going to pot this one up. It's exactly the same as we've done just there. Make sure you've got loads of soil in there and fill it up. And we're always trying not to disturb the roots any more than we have to. So just popping that in there. As I say, we've got different varieties. So here in the garden, we've planted out a range of courgettes and winter squashes and pumpkins. Some of them have got exciting names like Turk's Turban, and some of them, yeah, turn into quite different shapes and colours. So that'll be a bit of an adventure for everyone to see what you get. You can check the label if you've got a particular one in mind that you'd like. You can check and see what it's going to be. They're a summer plant, so we're growing them now, and they need a lot of water, but they need a lot of sun. So as long as you can keep them watered, it should be a good year for pumpkins. You'll see great big yellow flowers all along the plant. There are male and female flowers. So the female ones are the ones that have, even when the flower's there, a tiny little fruit behind them. And as the flower dies away, that's what becomes your squash or your pumpkin. Yeah, I mean, they're pretty robust at this stage. When they're tiny, the slugs can eat them. But by now, keep them watered, get them a bit of sun. You'll find they'll spread all over your garden. You can, if you've got a trellis or some sticks, you can grow them upwards if you keep tying them up and support them, or they'll just spread around. They will take up quite a bit of room, as much room as they can, but yeah, it's a nice plant to grow. So that's the pumpkin in its giant pot. And last, but by no means least, I've got a smaller pot for this one. It won't mind having more space, but it can get by in something like that. Or, of course, if you've got a place in the ground that you can put it, go for it. So this is Bladder Campion. It's a perennial plant, so it lives year after year. it won't stay green all of the year. So it'll do its thing, it's flowering now, and the leaves will die away over the winter, and in the spring you get the new shoots. We're growing it as one of our perennial food plants, excuse me, one of our perennial food plants, because it's edible. So the young shoots, the new leaves like this, you can pick, and they can either be eaten raw as part of your salad, or you can cook them, chop them like you would any green leaf into a soup or a stir fry, or however you like your greens. And I've just learned the flowers are edible as well. So they're full of nectar. So that means they're really sweet. They're a nice, sweet little thing. So they'll look great in your salad and they'll taste great as well. The other reason that we grow them, that brilliant nectar is great for all of our pollinators. So we're always trying to support all of the insects that we can in the garden, because in turn they support the plants that we grow. So this is a great plant. If you don't fancy eating any of it, you can just have it, because it's going to look beautiful and it's going to support all of the wildlife. So this one I've got here is just flowering, and these are the flowers. It's a white flower, and the reason for the name Bladder Campion, which is a bit of a funny name, but it's talking about this fat sort of hollow piece behind the flower, which someone thought looked like a bladder, I suppose. So that's why it's called Bladder Campion. I've got a list of other names to read out. So this plant goes by many names. One of them is stridolo, which is the Italian name, because it's used for cooking in Italy more than it is here. The other common names include common bladder catchfly, cowbell, maiden's tears, ben, just the name ben, bird's eggs, I suppose they look a little bit like an egg, bull rattle, cowpap, devil's rattlebox, frothy poppy, rattlebay, snappers, spatling poppy, white ben, or white bottle. You can call it what you like. It's a plant of many names. That probably means we've known about it and we've used it as a plant for a long time. So all over the country, people have given it their own sort of names depending on what they thought it reminded you of. But yeah, a lovely little plant to grow. So that's the pack for this month. Okay. So a couple of weeks ago, we talked about moving more here in the garden towards perennial plants, so ones that come year after year. And the main reason for doing that is to protect ourselves against the droughts that we're having more often as our climate changes. So those plants with deeper roots survive more easily than the ones without. So I just wanted to show you a little look around the garden as we are today. I don't know if you'll be able to hear, it's buzzing with crickets. It sounds like it used to if you went on holiday to Spain and you could hear the crickets buzzing and everything was very dry and brown. It's unusual weather for us here in the UK. So yeah, you can see we haven't watered anything here. These are our long grasses and everything is looking pretty dry and sorry for itself. Even the trees that we've planted out, which should have deep roots, are struggling in the heat. The plants that we're growing for food, we are watering. We're watering them as much as we can, and our amazing volunteers come in every day and, you know, try and look after them. And that's how we're managing to grow the things that we are growing. But yeah, this is a good argument for me for going towards perennial plants and things that are going to be a bit more robust in this wonderful, very hot sun. Right, we are back in the shade. Thanks for watching. That's all for July. Come and pick up your plants. They're going to be in a different place this month because they're just getting too hot in the polytunnel. So if you come up to where the trees are, I'll put a sign out and you'll see all of the packs, and I'll leave the signing sheet as well. But yeah, come and get them as soon as you can. Take them home and look after them. See you next month.